It is now 9:37, and we don't have quorum yet, but we want to make sure that we start public comment. And so the first person that we'll bring up is Michael Dobbins.
No, turn on the, hold on.
One second, Mr. Dobbins, and I apologize. We actually do have quorum, so I'm gonna go ahead and Mr. Dobbins. So it's red when it's ready, but we're gonna go ahead and gavel in since we have quorum. Good morning and welcome to the September 27th meeting of the Transportation Committee. I am Councilmember Antonio Lewis, Vice Chair of the committee. I'm joined by, to my left, Councilmember Byron Amos, Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet, Councilmember Mary Norwood, and I'll accept the motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second. Been moving properly second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes. It's been moving properly second. Mr. Johnson, please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
We have 4 speakers today, and Mr. Michael Dobbins is our first speaker, and hopefully it's on. If it's not, we'll have someone help you. It's not on, is it?
Working, right? There you go. Okay, good. Yeah, my name is Michael Dobbins. I'm a professor of practice at Georgia Tech. I was formerly the Commissioner of Planning, Development, and Neighborhood Conservation for the City of Atlanta. And I'm here to speak about the extension of the downtown light rail to Ponce City. And I have reviewed that. I followed that project for many years. And what I would like to ask the city to do is to take a pause on the current plan to extend that rail, 2-track rail down to Ponce City. The thing about rail is back when it was initially proposed, it sort of made sense, maybe. But when you look at the terrain and everything, the green, the trees, and so on and so forth, and realize that your experience, if they actually go ahead, MARTA, and build the rail, it'd be like walking alongside a rail yard where there'll be fencing and retaining walls and so on. There are grade issues that go on. And we just got the detailed plans from the first set 2 or 3 months ago, and it's pretty devastating. What it really does is to replace what needs to be a 2-track walking trail, walking and biking separately, and to think anew about what we really need for a transportation plan. The plan on which the 2017 referendum was based was done in 2015. It called for 52 miles of streetcar. Things have changed radically during that time. We had COVID. We've had lots of different technology. We have a change in travel behavior. I don't know whether any of you were at Streets Alive this weekend, but it was packed with people celebrating, walking and jogging and having kids and dogs and so on and so forth. That's the real future of the Beltline. It's been very successful, but it's really constrained right now. So the main thing I think, and I would like to ask the city to consider doing, is step back and redo a comprehensive transportation plan, particularly for transit, that actually could work and really build on the strengths that the Beltline as it presently exists as a walking trail and a park can be extended and committed to that future. Right now, the Beltline is currently grading and deforesting trees on the south side of the trail. So, and I have a handout that sort of gives some of the description. I think the last thing I would say is I really would encourage all of the council members to go visit that trail with a consultant so that you can see for yourselves, hands-on, the devastation that it would wreak against the successful part of the Beltline, which is the trail.
And thank you, Mr. Dobbins. I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Next speaker, it is Crystal. The name I didn't understand as much. The second speaker would be CRY.
It's donated time. They put donated time on there.
They donated time to DeJuan Robinson. The third speaker, Chris Brown, donated time to DeJuan Robinson as well. And so we will actually have 3 speakers that have donated time to DeJuan Robinson. So
Well,
that's
2
9.
speakers.
I have your own
Two
name
speakers
there.
plus-
Mr. Vice Chair, if the second person who signed in to donate time to Mr. Robinson is not here, then we can't yield that time to him.
Well, with me being
the
counsel,
young,
with me being
the young
chair
man was
today,
here and witnessed her signature. Said young lady
Mr.
in the
Robinson,
cafeteria.
Mr. Robinson. Well, with me being chair today, I believe that I believe somebody wrote this. I believe they were here. I believe they wanted to donate his time. They may have had to go to work today, and so with me being chair today, I'll be okay with that. If unless that breaks all protocol,
So
and if the committee would be okay
it's your
with
will,
that.
Vice Chair.
So I'd be okay with that.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Good morning.
No problem.
I come to you today asking. I recently seen in the news that
One second, we're gonna make sure we start the time. It sounds like 9 minutes, if possible. You can go ahead.
I recently seen in the news about a week or 2 ago that our administration, Ms. Overstreet, had some issues when it came to, I think, the senior ball. And what was bestowed to them was they was able to, make an apology and put in some legislation and rewrite their wrongs. So I'm asking you guys here today, since we got the airport here today, we got 2 black women that was fired and had a demand letter for $1,300. I'm asking that, if we can forgive $120,000, right? $1,300 that the airport accusing that somebody had a mix-up with some candles. We asking the airport when they come up here today, are they so forgiving for $1,300? If the city is forgiving $120,000, the so-called bad apple that Mr. Biodori spoke on, $1,300 that these women didn't steal nothing, but maybe there was a misunderstanding and the city are ruining 2 black women lives over a $1,300 demand letter, right? So I also want to bring to your attention that since we got Ms. Kelly Yamaguchi here, who used to be a strong advocate in writing negative stuff with the airport, all of a sudden when they give her this news story about these 2 young black girls, Keisha Knox and Tangela Parker, we're going to name their name for the record, all of a sudden, Ms. Yamaguchi, all of a sudden, started writing positive stories to the airport. They've been feeding her this positive shift, and all of a sudden, she on the right side with the airport. And one thing I want to mention to you guys, there's a gentleman who's an operation manager at Hartsfield named Mohammed Abdurrahman. He was recently fired, right? 28 years. He's going through 3 administrations, right? Mr. Biodori, this guy's a former guy from India. Mr. Biodori let his deputy general manager, who we speak on so much, Ms. Jaffarel, fire this guy, right? Not that he was incompetent, can't do his job. So what I'm letting you guys know up here, Mr. Amos, is that the airport, under Mr. Biodori leadership, so-called leadership, we are getting rid of all high-level people that know their job. We are now hiring subpar people who don't know what they're doing because they want to run the airport the way they want to run the airport. All high-level people that know their job are being let go. We don't know about it, but they're being let go. And I would just like for you guys to just ask them sometime, why would this man let go? 28 years, right? We've let people, Ms. Norwood, took bribes from Blue Cross Blue Shield and Kaiser, Mr. Lewis. We let him resign. He caught red-handed, raising the benefits on y'all employees. All y'all who work here, 8,000 employees, benefits going up. We let this man resign. But we got him in at the airport 28 years. They fired him. Operations manager now, high level, fired him after 28 years. No opportunity to resign, fired him. We have take confirmation of Mr. Bill Dorr going on a rampage with the airport concessionaires, asking them if they don't get in line and fix this. I was in the military. I'm built for war. Anybody want to, anybody step out of line, you have to deal with me. He very humble in here. Hey, but when he not around y'all, dictator, putting his foot down, telling the concierge what they better do. And if they don't do it, they got to deal with him. Now, you're going to see him come up here in a minute with his earpiece in, right? He don't wear a hearing aid, but what you're going to see is Ms. Jaffarel going to be in his ear, telling him what to say. Many of you guys have had conversations with Mr. Bill Dorr without her around, without the earpiece in. He don't seem as a competent man that can run a multi-billion-dollar airport, the world business airport. But when he got certain people in his ear telling him what to do, yeah. So don't fall for the humble Mr. Bill Dorr in here, because we've seen him online making threats to concessions out there. And y'all seen them come in here asking law to make concessions for money put aside in case there's lawsuits on this concession, because they fire everybody that know what they doing. You got new people there. You got Jaffarel over concession. Is she the marketing director, or she the deputy general manager, Ms. Norwood, or she over concession? Which is it? Are we afraid to ask these people these questions? Which is it? And all I'm just saying is, if we can cut the administration, if they made a mistake, and we allow them to correct their mistakes, are we not willing, Miss Marcy Overstreet, to let two black women that have a career right their wrongs over $1,300, right? With a candle that Mr. Bill Dorr's name was on and Jaffarel was on. But we're gonna accuse these black girls of ordering candles, $1,300. But higher up, Miss Overstreet, get to right their wrongs. All I'm just saying is it ain't right. And if we're gonna stand for something, you guys took an oath. When you took that oath out there on Georgia Tech Field, you guys took an oath to take care of the public, Miss Overstreet, and to do right by the people that voted you in and the taxpayers. But we let them come up here like they just above reproach. I don't understand why. I don't understand why we don't ask them these questions. When the rubber meets the road, you guys wanted to go into executive session. There was no threat of litigation. These girls have a demand letter they asking them to pay. But y'all let law come down here because Nina Hickson, who's the head of law department, who used to run ethics, Mr. Lewis, sent her little law people down here and said, oh, them two girls in the audience, we didn't think they was gonna ever show up. They down here now, everybody nervous. Let's go into executive session. No, we can't play that game on my watch. We won't do that. We won't let them get out of here on my watch. You know what I'm saying? They playing games now. And they're gonna continue to play games unless you guys ask them the hard question. But guess what though? When that IG report come out, you guys won't be up here acting like you don't know what's going on. Same way when the IG report came out about across the hall, about the senior ball. Now you guys want to act like, oh, we didn't know that. We can't do that, man. We owe the citizens way more than just sitting here idle, not saying anything. We cannot do that. They trusted you guys to have their back. I trusted you guys to have my back. I'm a taxpayer, I'm a super voter, and we cannot allow the airport to think they run Atlanta. They think they run Atlanta. The airport is gonna run whether Mr. Bill Dorr there or not. The airport is gonna run. It's no coincidence that Mr. Bill Dorr was turned down 3-4 times for general manager. It's no coincidence of that. You've been at the airport forever, Mr. Amos. It's no coincidence of that. Why do you think he had to bring in a former general manager to consult him? No. If I'm fit for the job, I'm fit for the job. I don't need to bring a former general manager to help me out. I'm built for the job. I put my name in it for it. Just like you, Mr. Amos. If you wanted to run for District 3 city councilman, do you need to hire the former city councilman to be in your office to guide you? No, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that because you're fit for the job. You can handle the job. You're born and raised in your district. You don't need nobody to tell you what District 3 needs. That's your hometown. Atlanta is my hometown. And we need to get rid of bad, corrupt people at the airport. And it starts with the leadership, Ms. Overstreet. It always starts at the top. The top have to take blame. And we need to ask Mr. Bill Dorr today about this, Mr. Mohammed Abdurrahman, the operations manager at Hartsfield Airport. Why was he fired? We want to know, why was he fired? Why wasn't he allowed to resign? Why was he fired? We need to just ask him, why was he fired? Ms. Jaffarell not here today. You know, they ain't gonna bring her down here too much. But we need to ask him, the leader, why was they fired? Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. The next speaker is Mr. Samuel Gee.
Samuel Gee.
Yes, sir.
I'm here to address the excessive use of four-way stop signs across the city of Atlanta. And I'm finding out that they are illegally placed in these intersections. And they're violating the public, it isn't gotten into violating federal regulations, and it gotten into infringing on people's constitutional rights. And they are actually intruding on the thoroughways. You know, it says in regulation CFR 655 that stop signs shouldn't be used as speed to regulate speed. You know, and it also says that in the manual for uniform traffic control devices also states that stop signs should not be used as speed control devices. This principle appear to be based on the results of several studies that has shown that when stop signs have been installed for the purpose of controlling the speed vehicle rather than to reduce the likelihood of vehicle conflicts of intersecting roads, vehicle speed between the signs installation typically increase over what they were prior to the sign being erected. It said stop signs shouldn't be installed in a manner that minimize numbers of vehicles having to stop at intersections where a full stop is not necessarily at. And then you go to most of these stop signs across the city, when you stopping, there's no other traffic around, and they trying to just block the whole thoroughway. This used to, I've been living over in over there on Oakland Drive. I've been living over in the West End for almost 30 years, near the West End, East Point, all around in Fulton County, and there have never been 9 stop signs from Danelli all the way to Campbellton Road. That's about almost 9 stops. You see what I'm saying? I mean, that's ridiculous, man. And then you can go to other parts of the city, and they just erected a stop sign right in the front of Oakland Park, and the street is not even parallel with the cross street. And I'm sitting there, and they had just erected a stop sign. The police sitting right in the park, and the police write me a ticket. Like he capitalizing on the extortion of the stop sign, which is violating the separation of power. I mean, the police with the city of Atlanta. Why is he sitting there? He regulating an illegal stop sign. It's not even. Here you go. Pass this around right here.
And Mr. G, Mr. Samuel, I appreciate you for coming down, and Mr. Johnson is going to
it's
make
not
sure you get
even
us
parallel with the street. Now he's sitting in the park.
Yes, sir.
He write me a ticket.
Yes, sir. In your time.
And it's a threat to public safety, because I'm trying to figure out if I'm gonna stop, and they had just put the sign there last
Now, I want to
week.
say, and thank you for coming down too and bringing this to us, particularly with the
what I'm saying.
pictures. Particularly with these pictures. You got some more papers you want us to grab as well?
Yeah. Here's
you
the
can-
regulation. I got all.
And he'll take care of it right there. I appreciate you again, Mr. G.
It is actually against the law. It's against federal law, and it's against the Constitution.
Thank you again, Mr. G. Well, and that's the end of public comment for today. We'll get started our regular agenda. Mr. Johnson, do we have any ordinance for second reading?
Section F, ordinance for second reading, item number 1, 23-01501, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or designee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to amend the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Administration Organization of the Executive Branch, Section 2-281, Department of Transportation, for the purpose of adding the Office of Engineering to amend the Sections 2-282, functions of the duties of the Office of Mobility, Strategy, Planning and Performance, 2-283, functions and duties of the Office of Capital Project Delivery, and 2-284, functions and duties of the Office of Transportation Infrastructure Management, and to add a new section, 2-285, functions of the duties of the Office of Engineering and for other purposes.
And the motion is to refer Mr. Cavanis. Do you have anything you want to speak to this legislation? Any questions from committee members?
Mr. Vice Chair, just a point of clarity, we'll vote to approve this item and then refer to FEC committee.
Gotcha. So I'll make a first motion. Is the second? Motion to approve is second by Councilmember Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Motion to refer to FEC. Second by Councilmember Overstreet. Mr. Johnson, please open the vote.
One moment. The vote is open. Will everyone please, the vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays, the item is referred.
Thank you. It's been moved to FEC.
Item number 2, 23-01502. An ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute amendment number 1 to the project management agreement for the East Side Trolley Trail Project with PATH, a Georgia nonprofit corporation, to extend the term of the agreement for a period not to exceed 365 consecutive calendar days to begin retroactively on December 31st, 2022, giving a new expiration date of December 31st, 2023, with no additional funding required and for other purposes.
Do we have anything from the department?
Yes, sir. Commissioner, Capital Delivery, ATL DOT. This ordinance for second reading is simply to get us through the completion. The original scope for this project has been completed through punch list. We're now finishing the work for the Arizona Spur, which was change ordered scope. So just completing that additional work. But that'll be done before the end of the year, sir.
We have something from our Councilmember Norwood.
Yes, Deputy Commissioner, we just heard from the former commissioner about not putting a trolley all the way from downtown, where we have an empty streetcar, all the way out to Ponce City Market. I don't want to speak for Councilwoman Overstreet, but we were chatting while Mr. Dobbins was making his presentation. I personally do not like the idea of putting transit to Ponce City Market. I was just out yesterday at the Old Fourth Ward Plaza. And we have a lot of density, got a lot of people living there. We have put up high-rises all around it. We have a wonderful system on the east side that works with lots of bikers and lots of joggers. And I understood in the very beginning that trying to do rail with the grade and making it safe enough, you've got to put up huge retaining walls. We are going to lose, in my view, the charm of what we've created with the Beltline. And I understand there's Beltline rail now. I understand it. There's always two sides to a story. But I firmly believe, having been one of the council people here when it was first conceived and having run citywide 5 times, so knowing every inch of that 22 miles and every neighborhood in that 22 miles, I would like to make a motion to hold this paper, and I would like us to have a work session, because I believe that we have had a very strong lobby for transit, and I get that. But I have always wanted transit to take you where you wanted to go, how you wanted to go, quicker than you could go, better than you could go. Everything from micro, I was for an Uber type thing before Uber was even thought of in Atlanta. I wanted transit, tiny transit on demand. So I really think it's a larger conversation than just building that out. And we still have plenty to do with the Beltline because we haven't finished it. My part of town does not have it yet. So the Beltline's got plenty on their plate to connect Northwest and Northeast Atlanta and get through Peachtree Street at Bennett Street. So it's not as if this will crash and burn, advancing the Beltline, advancing the path in Atlanta. So my motion is to hold.
So,
And is Councilman Overstreet?
Just right quick, I do, my conversation with Commissioner Norwood was around public engagement. I don't remember the process of public engagement for the trolley. I actually like that name because streetcar is not working out. We all know that. We could be, clear about that. But I don't remember a deep dive into the trolley. And so for that reason, I would like to know more about what kind of public engagement we had. I am getting questions about, where this all came from and how is this, how is it vetted? And I honestly don't have those answers. I don't know when we started being advocates of the East Side trolley. I do believe that the original concept of Beltline was a transportation mode. I also believe that, the streetcar has not worked the way that we thought it would when we first put it in. So I'm absolutely supportive of a messaging change for sure, but I definitely want to know more about how we got where we are right now, because I don't have the answers that I need when asked about this type of investment and gravel move. Like this is a huge move for us. So I do want more information.
so
I'm open to receive it in any way.
I do want to comment to both of y'all on this one. Is this ordinance second reading is for a time extension. The scope here is already contracted. The contractor's already out there doing this work. So this is all prior. So the
So, I hear you.
yeah,
I am.
we're not approving scope here. I mean, you know me. I'm all with you on the community engagement.
Yeah.
I got no problem there. I got no problems with the communication part of it.
So you have that information for me? How we
I will.
vetted all of this? And because I remember a few months ago when we were presented with projected numbers of what the the ridership would look like on a trolley on this type of trail. And it was a projection, and I said, is this just a double down on the streetcar? I mean, and I said, because I couldn't, the projections of the actual streetcar weren't correct. So I was asking where those projections came from. I never got that information either. And then I hear about this particular project. So I need more information. Like, what was the public engagement exactly when we were actually calling it an East Side Trolley Trail
So
project?
I think part of the misleading part here is having the word trolley in it. What Marsha was just sharing with me was more description to the trolley part of it. It's a trail. It's not streetcar. It's not trolley. Trolley should probably not be in that project name. And so it's not
And that's actually the
vehicular.
part I like.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning. Good morning, Marsha Anderson Bomar. So this.
So this is trail, this is not transit?
This is trail. This has nothing to do with transit. It's called the trolley trail because that's where the trolley used to be. So that's why the trolley is in the name. But this is just for a linear park and a trail. So it has nothing to do with streetcar.
Okay,
wow.
I will withdraw my motion, but
So here's the
It's
thing.
misleading.
here's the deal. We have just explained to y'all how very concerned we are about transit going to Ponce City Market. And I think what Commissioner Dobbins said was very thoughtful, that the council needs to have a site visit. We need to put us on a van and take us and have us see when we are deciding something this important that either will help the east side or will not help the east side, and just make sure we make the best decision we can.
And I can tell you that PATH is very forthcoming with doing site visits. I know Commissioner actually shared with one site visit that PATH is doing, I believe this weekend, maybe for one of their projects. So we are more than happy to host y'all out, so.
And I enjoyed this conversation so much, and knowing we can move it. I feel like now there's a conversation that could be talked about moving the trolley streetcar to Calmerton Road, because we want it. The difference between if this exact same conversation was happening about moving this streetcar to Calmerton Road to take it to Greenbrier Mall, it'll be packed. And so now I know that conversation could possibly be had now, because we have council members who represent that district that don't want this in their district. And so, Councilmember Overstreet, I don't know how open you are to that, but I can't wait till we start this conversation back up, because Calmerton Road wants this. So we have a motion that's been removed from holding it, and we're about to, I move that we accept this, right? Do I just see I move that we approve. It's been seconded by Councilmember Norwood. Please open the vote, Mr. Johnson. Oh, I apologize. 1 second. Councilmember Alex Warren had a question.
Thank you.
I wanted to speak first.
And I apologize for being late to the meeting. Did you explain why the retroactive and what happened with the original expiration and why we're dealing with this 9 months later?
I'll be honest, I don't have the best explanation as to the retroactive part, but it is due to additional scope being added. We just finished the additional scope the original scope in the last 2 months. Most of the delay, I'm told, is due to administrative, trying to get the paperwork right. We are trying to go away from this whole retroactive concept. If you were in our briefing the other day, you would have heard me asking that exact same question.
All right, so you just opened another can of worms. You said that we're changing the scope,
It was additional scope, yes, sir.
all right, and I don't know that, I don't see that in our supporting documents here in the system. I just want to ask, is it in ELMS or somewhere? Or maybe you can summarize what the change of scope is.
The additional scope that is being completed right now is for the Arizona Spur aspect of the overall trail.
Okay, and so it's additional scope, but no additional funding, correct? Just time certain, but no additional funding, just change of scope.
Yes, sir.
And an extension of the time to December of this year.
It's for, yes, sir. It's a 1-year extension, so we'll be done with the work by the end of the year. Yes, sir.
Okay, so you feel confident in the December 2023
Yes, sir.
deadline? All right. Do we confirm that the amendment is in our supporting documents?
Yes, Councilmember Juan is attached.
All right, thank you.
So it's moved by myself and open for any other council members have anything else? It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilmember Norwood. Please open the vote, Mr. Johnson.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable.
And Mr. Moore, thank you for being so open and transparent with what's going on.
Yes, sir.
And thank you as well, Ms. Marshall.
Item number 3, 23-01519, an ordinance by Councilmember Amir Faroki, authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year 2024 intergovernmental grant fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations the 2023 LAMIG grant in the amount of $4,563,076.09 on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation and for other purposes.
Mr. Moore, do you have anything?
Again, Greg Moore, Deputy Commissioner for Capital Delivery, ATL DOT. The department is in support of this ordinance so that we can accept the funds for the coming year's LMIG / I'll say resurfacing program.
We'll start with Councilmember Norwood.
Yes, we've had conversations about how you've completely restructured LMIG, and we're all I certainly am pleased about that because there a half a mil of asphalt on a cul-de-sac that didn't need it was really not a great use of our money over the past half dozen years. But my question is, now that we're applying for this LMIG, what is that going to be used for? Do you have any kind of list for different council districts, or what is your process?
Right now, Commissioner and I are still vetting that with y'all, with the mayor to determine how we're going to use it. Because again, this is simply the funds we're getting from Georgia Department of Transportation, along with our local match, plus additional funds so we can be able to resurface more than just side streets, do patching. Again, I've shared with a number of y'all what past resurfacing has been. It's been patchy here and there streets, and we're trying to do long segments. We're actually trying to get the mayor's vision of resurfacing the city done, so.
Good, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And Councilmember Juan withdrew his question, so I'll entertain a motion. Moved by Councilmember Juan. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Marcia Collier Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Item number 4, 23-01525, an ordinance by Council members Michael Julian Bond, Matt Westmoreland, Keisha Shawn Waits, Jason Winston, Amir Faroki, Byron D. Amos, Jason Dozier, Alex Juan, Howard Shook, Mary Norwood, Dustin Hillis, Andre L. Boone, Marcia Collier Overstreet, and Antonio Lewis, authorizing the installation of an art exhibit in honor of the 53rd Mayor of the City of Atlanta, Samuel A. Massell Jr., authorizing the airport general manager or his designee to determine the appropriate location of the art exhibit at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport and for other purposes.
Thank you. We have Mr. Councilmember Michael Julian Bond here to speak to the motion.
I'd like to say good morning to members of the committee, members of the public and staff that are present. This legislation says what it does. We want to make sure that we honor Mayor Massell at the airport, and we enjoy the signed-on support of almost every member of the Atlanta City Council. Mayor Massell, as we all know, had a storied political career here in Atlanta, serving on the Board of Aldermen, serving as vice mayor, ultimately as mayor. When he was the vice mayor to Mayor Allen, and they began acquiring land for what is now Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Unlike our present government, where the role of the city council president, which that position became council president from vice mayor, the vice mayor actually sat in on committees and advocated for the administration. And so when it was time to acquire land and plans for what is now Hartsfield-Jackson, Mayor Massell had that role. And as mayor of Atlanta, they finalized the plans that ultimately led to Mayor Maynard Jackson being able to construct the airport. And of course, Mayor Marsell had always been a great ambassador to Atlanta. You know, of course, he operated a travel agency, traveled around the world, aided in the travel of many hundreds of thousands of others, president of the Buckhead Coalition, but he ended his career, the last few months of his life, and lent himself to be the co-chair of Mayor Andre Dickens' transition team. And so, you know, his family, those who love and support him, and believe that this would be an appropriate honor for him. And I ask that you would move approval.
And we have Councilmember Juan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So it's my understanding that the administration wants to hold this for a cycle. The airport is working on, I think, a bigger concept and needed more time. Is there someone from the administration that can speak to that? Because I'm fully supportive of this, Councilmember Bond. I just want to recognize if there's part of a bigger picture, let's wait for that and move it all at one time. But I would invite the administration to come either affirm or give more context around that request.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chair. Good morning, City Council Member. B.B. Odori, Aviation General Manager. I want to congratulate and thank Councilmember Bond for introducing this paper. It's something that we recognized a couple of years ago, the importance of a number of Atlanta citizens who had a dramatic impact on this airport from 1925, when it was just a racetrack, to 2023. So last year, this body has passed legislation authorizing us to start a planning, design, and construction of an entire exhibit recognizing all of these individuals. So we have completed the planning. We are in design right now, and we will take an entire portion of our ground transportation area, similar to what we did between Concourse A and Concourse B, the history of Atlanta. Well, this will be installed between Concourse D and Concourse E, the history and the evolution of Atlanta Airport and those that were responsible for the evolution of Atlanta Airport. This art piece, it's going to be multiple pieces. It's not going to be static. It's a dynamic type of art we're putting there. So we want to recognize former Mayor Sam Marsell is one of those individuals that was tapped to be displayed during that art. So the administration, what we're requesting is to hold it, and I have a meeting with Councilmember Bond today to brief him in more detail what we're doing. So it will be a bigger picture, an overall picture to recognize not only a individual, but those individuals that had an impact on the airport.
All right, thanks for the clarity. I don't know if Councilmember Bond wanted to respond to that before I make a motion to hold.
Well, I would not support the motion to hold because not the commissioner of the airport, but I began meetings with his staff over a year and 4 months ago on this very issue, and have been waiting to hear back from the airport staff since that time. And so his family believes that he, like others who are individually, recognize that the airport is worthy of that honor. You know, there is a display for former Congressman John Lewis. And, you know, John Lewis literally was my godfather. He literally changed my diapers, bounced me on my knee, took me to Braves games, went to Hosley Temple Church on Charlotte Place and stood at the church when I was christened. And he's represented in the Andrew Young atrium in the airport. But guess what? John was not born in Atlanta. John's not from Atlanta. John served on the city council, I think about 6.5 years. Mayor Marsell gave a lifetime of a career of representation for the city. And even though I think it is fantastic that there will be a Pantheon exhibit for those who played a role in making Hartsfield-Jackson Airport what it is, and Mayor Marsell should be a part of that. But I do also believe, and so does his family and his widow, believe that he's worthy of a singular honor at the airport, much like John Lewis.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. I'll wait to hear from my other colleagues before deciding.
And Councilmember Marcy Carrier Overstreet.
I'm actually thrilled to hear that we are already planning something wonderful for all of those that need to be recognized at the airport. I definitely am supportive of this legislation for all of the reasons that you spoke about. And I certainly don't want to look like a body that doesn't appreciate what Sam Massell has done for the city of Atlanta. I think that it's not an either or, like this paper or getting the recognition at the airport done. I think it's both. So I'm fine with moving it today because it's not specific as to what that looks like. It just says that we as a body would like to do something special for Sam Massell at the airport. It just says to authorize to determine the appropriate location of an art exhibit at the airport. And so I don't think that we're saying exactly what we want that to look like. We're just saying that it's a need to get it done. And I did receive the nice email from Mrs. Massell, and I did let her know that I was very supportive in supporting her late husband at the airport, and I am. And sounds like we all are. And I don't see a reason why we would hold the paper to figure out, what we're going to do exactly at the airport. This just says that we know that it's something that we need to get done. So.
Absolutely.
And I want to comment to that as well. There are a number of people that will be in this new place that we're already building, but Mr. Massell is a one of one. One of one. To be mayor of Atlanta means you're one of a select few people. And so his impact on our city, to hear Marta say Marta wouldn't exist without him. That's what Marta said to him. And so for his wife, Mrs. Massell, I received the letter last night, and I didn't email her back because I was going to come in here today to make sure I made a statement with her today. I think we could do both. I think he deserves to be in the new place that we're putting together, but he also deserves his own space in the airport. So we move this paper forward. Second by Councilmember Marcy Carrier Overstreet. It's been moving properly second. Mr. Johnson, please open the vote.
Vote is open.
It was favorable by all council members present too. So that means our body feels the same. Thank you.
No,
Vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Thank you. You all continue to prove that you're the best committee of the Atlanta City Council. Thank you very much.
And I get this is my second time chairing all year now. I heard that 2 times when I chaired.
That's right. Absolutely. Thank you.
And point of clarification, I chaired twice this year, and Leonard Tate Street was the second other time, so I feel really good about my 2 times chairing. Mr. Johnson, can you please proceed?
Item number 5, 23-0-1530, an ordinance by Councilmember Mary Norwood on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to correct Resolution 23R-3684 adopted by the Atlanta City Council on June 20 of 2023 and approved by the operational law on June 29, 2023 for the purpose of adding an additional authorization thereto and for other purposes. And Mr. Vice Chair, the sponsor requests that this item be held.
I'd like to speak before I make the motion to hold. West Paces Ferry was listed in the bonds at $7.8 million. I would like to know the cost estimates that comprised $7.8 million. I would just like to know when those bonds, when those amounts were decided, and the current staff was not here then, but I'd like to know, I'd like to see how it was projected to cost 7.8, and yet it came in much quicker and much less expensive. There may be things that were left out, but I need to see that. Secondly, there is an issue of the leftover money from this bond project, and a concern, and I know the law department is looking at it. Thank you, law, for doing that, Stephanie. To see how we can appropriately fund projects that are in close proximity, that are the same thing. We have connector streets to West Paces Ferry that are in terrible shape. District 8 has the second worst condition of streets in the entire city. And until this summer, there have been no resurfacing projects other than little cul-de-sac LMIG projects. So I have a part of the city that has the most commuter traffic through neighborhood streets because I-75 is not adjacent to the Buckhead community, the Buckhead Central Business District. I-75, you only have 5 ways to get to work. And those are 5 neighborhood, 2-lane streets that have 15 to 20,000 cars a day, and we can't get out of our driveways, and all the construction trucks are there, and all the delivery trucks are there, and they're torn to shreds. They are absolutely torn to shreds. Anybody who wants a tour, I'll put you in my car. You might never ride with me again, but it will be a very informative hour and a half. So we need to figure out, the bonds were allocated per council district, and I have the cost breakout here. I also have every single one of the bond projects and the T-SPLOST projects put into an Excel spreadsheet. So if anybody wants to see them organized by council district and what's been actually allocated where. But I think we've got a bigger issue with how we go forward with bonds and T-SPLOST projects because it's $750 million. And when I am having a problem with money that we, quote, saved because of however it was projected to cost, and it didn't cost that much, then that's a real issue. The department has agreed to work with me, so I have agreed to hold this for a cycle. But what we know happened in 2015 is money was thrown. They had to realign the projects and whatever y'all called it. I wasn't down here then. Reprioritize the projects because the money ran out. Because there are projects in my district that haven't been finished, that weren't done. So I understand not spending money irresponsibly, not spending $40 million that wasn't even approved by the city council at the time. And again, I wasn't here, but I watched it. So I got it. But I want to make sure that every single cent that I can put in my district that I am owed in my district gets done and gets done quickly. And the administration knows, I've been talking with the administration since December of 2021. The time is now. We did all the downtown streets. We created Oz downtown. We got Oz in downtown Atlanta, around City Hall and around the Capitol. Some of the rest of us are still living in Kansas, and I want to get out of Kansas and get at least part of the Yellow Brick Road.
And my favorite part, I second this motion, but my favorite part is that when I first got here, Councilmember Norwood said District 8 had the worst streets in the city. So now she said second because District 12 has the worst. But I want to add in the part, she also said that ATL DOT folks weren't here at that time. And so District 12, we're rising because of the new ATL DOT staff. And so I want to add in that part. And you might go to worse because we're going to get better down there. I think at the same time, but I second that motion. Please open the vote, Mr. Johnson.
Vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is held in committee. This takes us to Section G, resolutions. Item number 623R4152, a resolution by Councilmember Byron D. Amos expressing the City of Atlanta's support for the abandonment of Shirley Place Northwest right-of-way located to the direct north of Urbina Street Northwest, to the extent that the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation concludes that the proposed abandonment area is no longer useful or necessary for the public's use and convenience as a public right-of-way, to allow for the proposed abandonment area to be included in the development of adjacent city-owned property at 0 Pansy Street Northwest and 0 Shirley Place Northwest for the creation of affordable housing on a currently underutilized site and for the purposes. Mr. Vice Chair, the administration requests that this item move forward with no recommendation.
Been moved by Councilmember Amos, second by myself. I apologize.
Yeah, I'm curious as to why no recommendation. This is going to get sent to FEC later this afternoon, where there are 2 other companion papers waiting there for it. Why can we not understand what the recommendation and the rationale behind it is now?
Greg Moore,
The only reason I'm just not interested in sending this forward just to sit in FEC when this is the transportation component of it that we should discuss here.
thank you, sir. Greg Moore, Deputy Commissioner, Capital Delivery, ATL DOT. There's a baseline premise on this is that while this resolution is for the abandonment of a street, there's two pieces. One, it technically should be an ordinance, but then also there is an application that accompanies the abandonment, and that has not been processed yet. I spoke with DCOS Pace this morning regarding this paper, and that was the recommendation. That was his instruction to me, was this needed to be an ordinance to formally abandon this. My understanding from staff is also that this is not actually the abandonment paperwork. It's that they're not ready to abandon it yet. So it was either moving forward, the recommendation was to move forward without a recommendation or recommendation for substitution, because the language here is not clear as to what was being approached.
All right, so we can't magically turn a resolution into an ordinance midstream, so that path is blocked. And if there is not readiness in terms of we don't have an application, then this isn't ready, period. And so there's no sense, in my opinion, to even move it forward. It needs to either be filed and a proper paperwork be introduced on Monday, or I don't know. But let's not send it forward just to sit in another committee when we need to discuss the actual project and understand what it's doing here first before sending it on, because the FEC piece is really just some of the financial stuff. So I'm going to let the author speak because I see him up there, but I think we at best need to hold this here.
And Councilmember Amos is about to speak, but didn't we just move and properly second it? Got you. Because he made a motion and I seconded it. Councilmember Amos made a motion, I second that motion already. But
Well,
Councilmember Amos, you can speak.
I'd like to withdraw that motion, and then make a motion to hold, because this is a development that has literally been 20 years in the making. And I want to make sure we get it right. And if we're not going to have it right before it goes to FE to sit in your committee, I don't want it sitting in the committee, and I also don't want it filed either, because that just says something when you say file. So I'll make a motion to hold, give us time to, and if we need to introduce an ordinance on Monday, more than willing and ready to do that, but it gives us time to get it ready to move it forward.
Moved by Councilmember Amos, second by Councilmember Wan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is held in committee. Mr. Vice Chair, if there is no objection from the committee, can we take items 7, 8, 10, 11, and 13 together as a block? These are all for the installation of traffic calming devices.
Please proceed.
Item number 7, 23R4153, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier requesting the mayor as designated to make an always stop control intersection at Abbott Street Southwest and Palmetto Avenue Southwest, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 8, 23R4154, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier requesting the mayor as designated to make an always stop control intersection at Camilla Street Southwest and People Street Southwest, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 10, 23R4156, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier requesting the mayor as designated to make an always stop control intersection at Ashby Grove Southwest and Lawton Street Southwest, to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 11, 23R4161, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Winston requesting the mayor as designated to make the intersection of Hill Street Southeast and Pavilion Street Southeast an always stop control intersection, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 13, 23R4169, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari requesting the mayor as designated to make the intersection of Hosea L. Williams Drive and First Avenue an always stop control intersection, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersections and for other purposes.
Mr. Smith, anything from Mr. Smith?
Good morning, Council. Alan Smith, Deputy Commissioner, ATL DOT, TIM Division. We support these legislations.
Okay, number 9. Do Oh, we didn't do 9 in there. Okay. So I'm so move. Is there a second?
Second.
Moving properly, second by Councilmember Norwood. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. These items are found favorable. This takes us back to item number 9.
So,
Excuse me.
1 second, Mr. Juan wanted to make a motion.
Thank you. I want to go back to the one we just did, 23R4152, and make a motion to reconsider. I'm understanding from law that perhaps we actually can move forward with this, that it does not need to be an ordinance. So I'd like to reconsider it and then have law come and explain. Because if we can, I know the importance of this to Councilmember Amos, and if we can do it, let's do it. So I'll make a motion to reconsider.
And moving properly second, please open the vote.
One moment. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been reconsidered.
All right, so sorry about all the sausage making there. So it's my understanding that this as a resolution simply states our intent and interest and support for abandoning. There may be some other procedural things that we'll still need to do and clear up, but we will have the opportunity potentially either in FEC or by Monday or in the steps ahead. So I think in the interest, Councilmember Amos, of keeping this moving forward, I think let's go ahead and move it forward. It'll go to FEC, and we'll take it up with the other 2 papers, and then hopefully get the entire package that you need for this project. So I'll make that motion to approve.
Moving properly second, please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. This item is a due referral, and it will be referred to today's FEC meeting.
Thank you. Councilmember Amos wanted to speak to this.
Just want to say thank you to all of my colleagues and everyone involved. This project sits in the middle of the Dixie Hill community and has been partially abandoned. We have been in court with the owner. It has previously been sold, and now it is an opportunity for us to really move forward. The developer is really working with the neighborhood. So it's a lot of moving pieces to this. This is only one of them. So just want to say thank you to everybody involved, because this really will be a Cal-Atlantic development in the community, and they're ready to move forward. So just thank you for everybody helping us out.
Thank you for bringing it forward, Councilmember.
Mr. Vice Chair, that takes us back to item number 9, 23R4155, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier requesting the mayor or his designee to make an all-way stop control intersection at Parsons Street Southwest and Camilla Street Southwest, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. And Mr. Vice Chair, this item need to be amended. The amendment changes Parsons Street to Parsons Place in the caption and all reference of the legislation.
I move to bring the amended version forward. Moving properly second, please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended.
Anything from the department?
We support this legislation.
So move. Approve as amended. And second by Councilmember Norwood. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable as amended. This takes us to item number 12, 23R4166, a resolution by Councilmember Alex Wong requesting the mayor or his designee to prohibit parking on the north side of Hill Pine Drive Northeast and from Monroe Drive Northeast to Hill Pine Lane Northeast, and to install signage at the appropriate locations along the prohibited area and for other purposes.
Anything from the sponsor?
Let's make sure they're okay.
We support it.
Anything?
I move approval.
Moved by Councilmember Wong, second by Councilmember Lewis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 14, 23R4184, a resolution by Transportation Committee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to amend Resolution 22R4417 adopted by the Atlanta City Council on October 17, 2022, and approved by the mayor on October 17, 2022, by adding an additional funding source thereto, all other parts of the legislation to remain unchanged and for other purposes.
Anything from the department? So move.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wong. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable.
Mr. Johnson, I want to pause to acknowledge former Councilmember Aaron Watson for being in the audience. Thank you for joining us today. We can proceed, Mr. Johnson. We can proceed.
Item number 15, 23R4185, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to exercise renewal option number 1 for a sole source agreement listed herein, street light and site, on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation for the renewal term of 1 year beginning October 5th, 2023 through October 4th, 2024, in amount not to exceed $155,000.00. All contrary to what we charge to and pay from the funding numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Anything from the department?
Yes, sir. Greg Moore, Deputy Commissioner, Capital Delivery, ATL DOT. The software platform being discussed here is largely a data analytics platform that we utilize in our strategy and planning division to inform us of different traffic metrics. And so we've used it for 1 year now. This is the first of a 3-year renewal option that we're planning to continue utilizing.
Anything from my colleagues? So, moved by Councilmember Wong, second by Councilmember Lewis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Item number 16, 23R4186, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor is designated to execute an agreement with the Atlanta Airlines Terminal Company for Central Passenger Terminal Complex miscellaneous renewal and replacement projects at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport for a cost to the city not to exceed $4,100,000.00 to be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Anything from the department?
Tom Nasalki, Assistant General Manager for Planning and Development at the Department of Aviation. As you know, the Atlanta Airlines Terminal Company operates and maintains the Central Passenger Terminal Complex. As part of this responsibility, they also operate numerous systems supporting the CPTC. This legislation will fund the replacement or the upgrading of 4 system components.
Moved by Councilmember Wong, second by Councilmember Marcy Curry Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Item number 17, 23R4187, a resolution by Transportation Committee to fund construction services for Phase 3 for project number listed herein, domestic terminal parking decks reconstruction and replacement, construction management at risk at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, with Holder, Austin, Moody, Bryson joint venture comprised of Holder Construction Group, LLC, Austin Commercial LP, CD Moody Construction Company, Incorporated, and Bryson Constructors Incorporated, in an initial amount not to exceed $200 million for the construction of the domestic terminal south deck. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Anything from the department?
Tom Nasalki from the airport. The replacement of the south deck is being delivered via a construction manager at risk delivery model. And under a CMAR, we fund the project incrementally. This legislation will fund certain long lead items as well as the funding of the majority of the parking deck structure proper.
And when will this be finished? I know I've been watching the construction over there for a
Currently, we're
while.
targeting December of 2026.
Okay.
So we're just getting started right now.
Okay. So move. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 18, 23R4188, a resolution by Transportation Committee supplementing a task order fund in an amount not to exceed $2,666,667.00 for use under contract numbers listed herein. On-call electrical services at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport with Cleveland and Telespring, a joint venture for the Department of Aviation on a task order basis. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. And Mr. Vice Chair, this item will need to be amended. The amendment attaches the IPRO report.
Second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is, will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been amended.
Please, anything from the airport?
Tom Nasalki from the airport. As the caption says, this will fund a task order fund for the Cleveland and Telespring team. Their first task will be to install a cable containing 1,728 strands of fiber connecting the domestic terminal to the international terminal.
Got a question for Councilmember Juan?
Yeah, I see from the IPRO report that we only received one proponent in terms of response. Is that any issue for concern? It's electrical service, or is it just that highly specialized that you feel okay about it?
It's always a concern from competition perspective. Of course, we want as much competition as we can get. It is highly specialized work because you'll see certain firms go for airfield work, others go for industrial type systems like this type of work.
You made the motion and probably second. I'll second. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable as amended. Item number 19, 23R4189, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an agreement for IFB DOA 2211-1230157, runway 10 glide scope and runway safety area improvements at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport with Precision 2000 Incorporated on behalf of the Department of Aviation, an amount not to exceed $9,989,808.40. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. And Mr. Vice Chair, this item will need to be amended. The amendment attaches the IPRO report.
I'll second. Move. Please open the vote for the to bring forward the amended version.
Vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended.
Anything from the airport on the amended version?
Well, as far as the legislation in general, the FAA is responsible for the performance of navigational aids at the airport. They had asked us to regrade the runway 10 glide slope reflective plane and to enhance the glide slope's performance. So this project and this funding will regrade the reflective plane, make minor runway safety area improvements next to the plane, and some other minor airfield improvements.
Second. Mr. Johnson, please open the vote.
The vote is open.
After this vote, I want to take a point to pause. Councilmember Marcy Carrier-Overstreet had a couple of questions that we wanted to ask MARTA, if we have someone from MARTA here. Can we please have someone from MARTA throwing a curveball in the meeting to have a little today?
5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable as amended.
Morning, Colleen Kiernan, Assistant General Manager for External Affairs at MARTA.
Thank you for being here today.
Good morning.
You know, we have asked for MARTA to be here for our transportation. You guys have been doing that, and I appreciate that, especially since we've been in the news, and I want to just, clarify a few things. Want you to speak on the article that was speaking about the 5 points revamp and it not going to, where it won't be ready for the World Cup in 2026. Seeing that this is 2023, I thought it interesting that we're speaking about 2026, but since we are, I have been asked several times from different people what is happening there, and I said I'll wait till Wednesday to see if someone's here to speak about that.
Well, briefly, as you know, we were awarded a RAISE grant that we applied for with full support from the City of Atlanta, State of Georgia, probably about 25 other supporters. We were successful in that grant. We're awarded last August, and the grant was to deconstruct the canopy while we figured out what was going to come in the meantime. It's taken us a bit longer to come to an agreement about what's going to happen after the canopy is deconstructed, but we came to an agreement with the City of Atlanta over this summer, probably late July, early August. Meanwhile, we've been working through the environmental process with FTA because it's a federal grant, so now we have to go through all of the federal processes, and we were anticipating receiving a categorical exclusion because we're taking down a canopy and building something new in the same envelope, which is what a categorical exclusion is used for. Because the State Historic Preservation Office determined that 5 points had significant historical importance, that pushed us into an environmental assessment process, which is going to take a little bit longer. The good news is, as of last week, we've received communication from FTA that they're going to be working with us to expedite the time frame for getting through the environmental assessment. So we should have more and good news to report back on that, but we're very much just in those conversations about nailing down the plan to get through the environmental.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm glad you are hopeful, as am I, because we do have some time in between now and the World Cup. But you feel positive about us being ready.
I mean, as we sit here today, I can't say with certainty it will be done or it won't be done, but please know that we're putting forth as much effort as possible to get the project done in time for the World Cup and or figure out exactly what the best solution is to pause if we can't be done and leave it in the most, the place where we'll be able to welcome visitors most appropriately.
Okay.
And I'm a little nervous surrounding around this because the World Cup was used as the reason I supported this financial investment in the 5 Point station in particular. And I know you said that the City of Atlanta, we were fully behind it. So I feel like we've done everything we're supposed to do on our side. And you said that what's the slow up? What's the bottleneck?
The environmental.
I gave you a couple of reasons. So it took us longer to get to an agreement about the refining option 9A, which we presented publicly back in March. It wasn't until this summer that the city said we agree that this is the path forward. So that was one track of things didn't happen as quickly as we had anticipated. And then the environmental is the other piece. So we're working to be as efficient as possible and move as quickly as possible.
Okay, and the assumptions on the timeline currently are it will be finished after World Cup starts or before?
It's really dependent upon when we get through the environmental approvals and we're able to ink the agreement with USDOT and FTA.
Thank you. I think Councilmember Amish, I apologize.
Oh, no, I just wanted to yield. I'm all done. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just didn't want a conversation about World Cup and MARTA to go without me mentioning Vine City.
Yep, we look forward to going out and visiting the station with you and figuring out what we can do in a couple of weeks.
And thank you for being here, and thank you for coming up, answering the questions impromptu on the spot, and being transparent. Thank you again.
My pleasure, thanks.
Mr. Johnson, we can proceed with the meeting.
The vote was 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item was favorable as amended. This takes us to item number 20. Mr. Vice Chair, there's an amendment for item number 20. It changes the caption. The substitute removes all references of accepting grant funds in the caption in the legislation. Can we make a motion to bring forth the substitute?
Moving properly second, please open the vote.
Vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before you. Item number 2023R4241, a substitute resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor as need to apply for grant funding for the U.S. Department of Transportation fiscal year 2023, strengthening mobility and revolutionizing transportation grants program in the amount not to exceed $2 million on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation for the purpose of conducting demonstration projects focused on advanced smart city or community technologies and systems to improve transportation efficiency and safety and for other purposes.
So move. Second by Councilmember Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on substitute. Mr. Vice Chair, we have 2 items coming off held today. The first is item number 29. It requires a substitute. The substitute changes the caption. The substitute directs the CFO to identify funds of $700,000 to accomplish the intent of the ordinance and also attaches the cost estimate of Mullen Street as Exhibit A.
Moved by Councilmember Overstreet, second by myself, to bring forward the substitute. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before you. Item number 29, 23O1391, an ordinance by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond and substituted by Transportation Committee. An ordinance requesting the Atlanta Department of Transportation to develop a portion of the right-of-way along Mullen Street Southwest located between T Road Southeast and the dead end of Mullen Street Southwest, lying and being in land lot 212 of the 14th District of Fulton County, Georgia, adjacent to the tax parcel ID is listed herein, directing the Chief Financial Officer to identify funding in the amount of $700,000.00 to accomplish the intent of the ordinance and for other purposes.
And we've had the pleasure of spending time with Mr. Moore and Mr. Smith today. We got the commissioner in the building as well, so good to see you. Anything from the department?
So as it relates to this ordinance, the Department of Transportation.
You got to first say your name.
Sorry,
I can tell everybody else got it right.
Oh, you got me.
You good.
You got me. Long morning, Solomon Cavanis, ATL DOT Commissioner. This ordinance speaks to Mullen Street and the appropriate actions that need taken into consideration to move this forward, as stated in the substitute.
And so first we have questions from Councilmember Juan.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. This may be really for law. I'm reading the substitute, and it says this authorizes the Chief Financial Officer to identify and transfer funding. And one action, so I think there's a little uneasiness that we wouldn't know the source of funding before it was moved, correct? By virtue of this ordinance?
Good morning, Stephanie Grant, Law Department. Councilmember Juan, I will say that you have picked up on something that I did not pick up on. You are, and so. So yes, it's accurate that we wouldn't know the source of the funding until the CFO identified it, and that's an easy Scrivener's error that we can correct.
All right, I tell you, I'm just going to abstain on this so it won't be on consent, that we can get a little bit of time to clear this up before Monday.
Understood.
Yeah.
So as I'm looking at this, where exactly, which district is this in?
10.
Okay.
District 10.
So, anything else from any other council members? The sponsor, anything from the sponsor?
The brilliance and mercy of this committee just continues to amaze me. We're in support of what the department recommends.
Please, so moved by me. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Amos. Please open the vote. Mr. Johnson.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 2 yeas, 0 nays, 2 abstentions. This item is favorable on substitute.
Can I ask one question on that? Is this like a rocky road? Like just a rocky road?
It's a rocky road, but it's an overgrown section.
And I'll tell you that my district has so many of the rocky roads. When you ride through the city of Atlanta, you will realize that if you ride south and you ride southwest and northwest, you'll feel like you're in a different city, not in the city of Atlanta, because we have unpaved roads. Mm-hmm. And so this is a step to pave a rocky road, from what I see.
Well, I'd refer to this as a paper street, if you will.
Okay.
Less of a rocky road, but a paper street, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Our second item coming off held is item number 30, 23-01399. An ordinance by Councilmember Alex Juan to amend Chapter 150, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 4, Stopping, Standing, Parking, Division 4, Residential Permit Parking, to require that areas to be designated as residential parking permit areas shall be approved via ordinance, and that they shall be designated and the regulations thereto shall be codified in the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to amend Chapter 150, Article 4, to codify the current residential parking areas and the regulations related thereto, which have been previously administratively authorized and for other purposes. And Mr. Vice Chair, this item needs to be substituted. I will defer to Councilmember Juan to talk about the nature of the substitute.
Mr. Juan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So colleagues, I'm going to make a motion to bring the substitute forward. I want to thank the Law Department for working with trying to help clean this up and move it forward. I'll admit there's still a little bit more work to do, but what we'd like to do is bring the substitute forward and then move it forward. If it's before us, then move it forward on condition. We should be able to get all of the detail necessary by Monday. So I'll make the motion to bring the substitute forward.
Moving properly second. Mr. Johnson, please open the vote. Seconded by Councilmember Marcy Carr Overstreet.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. Substitute before you.
Anything from the...
Oh, I just introducing myself. Alan Smith, Deputy Commissioner, ATL DOT. The department supports the legislation.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve on substitute on condition that the final language be prepared by Monday.
Second. Oh, we're gonna give the second to Councilmember Marcy Carrier Overstreet. Please open the vote. Oh, Councilmember Amos has something you want to speak about on this.
I'm sorry, actually, I don't. I got a series of questions for the department and legal. I put them in the email so I won't prolong the meeting.
And we don't mind prolonging the meeting a little bit. I'm the chair today. I don't get that many times to do this.
Okay, well, with that being said,
let's finish this vote and then we'll go from there. We don't
Vote
get
is
that many
open.
chances.
Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable on substitute on condition. This takes us to section J, our appraisals. Mr. Vice Chair, we have
So
two.
you want your questions right now?
Yeah, I can answer now.
Councilmember Amos, we're gonna do a quick pause to let Councilmember Amos get his questions out for the people.
And so walk with me through the legislation section in program establishments. B, as it talk about the 2-hour time period. So not all of the parking, residential parking sections will automatically go into a 2-hour time period, correct?
Yeah, that's part of the cleanup language that we'll have by Monday is the clarification on the time piece.
And only if that section falls into that 2-hour time period will the signs be required to have that time on there, correct?
That one I'll have, I don't know the answer to that, but we can figure that out.
Because we just put up new signs in Vine City. Now, I'm thinking this says we have to take them down to add some time, so.
No, this really, what the intent of this paper was to codify the previous areas that were just done administratively and then just make them all consistent. It doesn't contemplate kind of adjusting anything that was already existing. So, but I'll confirm that by Monday.
Okay. So one of the things I think we do need to address, issues of permits. Single-family dwellings only get 2 residential permits. That's me, my wife, and my 2 daughters who have cars. Now they getting tickets because they don't have a permit. So we need to look at that. If you only, I think it probably need to be licensed, people with a license with that address on it and not necessarily 2 per single family, especially when it's unaffordable out there. More children are moving back home with cars. Almost finished. I'm glad to see that we did increase the fines in there because we did that legislation some time ago, so that's good. But also in festival permits with the Vine City parking area being across the street from Home Depot, festivals are there. I see the fine still is saying 75 to 100. Do we need to adjust those just in case there's some citations issued for festivals at the backyard? That's a legal thing.
Yeah, that is a law question, but I do think the event festival parking legislation you did actually supersedes the underlying permit program, so that would apply. And I see Ms. Grant nodding.
Make sure we got the entire conversation. I feel good about that. Mr. Johnson, can you please proceed?
This takes us to section J, our appraisals. We have 2. I can sound these together. We can accept them as a block.
Yes.
There's no objection. Item number 33, the purpose of the appraisal is to estimate the market value of an unapproved right-of-way of Old Jonesboro Road abandoned pursuant to 23-0-1323, consisting of approximately 0.423 acres lying and being in land lot 65 of the 14th District of Fulton County, Georgia. The market value has been determined to be $25,400. Item number 34, the purpose of the appraisal is to estimate the market value of an unapproved right-of-way of West Haven Drive and Rosemary Avenue abandoned pursuant to 23-0-1382, consisting of approximately 0.15 acres lying in being in land lot 150 of the 14th District of Fulton County, Georgia. The market value has been determined to be $5,600.00.
So I don't we might need to separate them because the first one on Old Jonesboro Road that sits in District 12, 25,000, half an acre on that corner. I don't know if I accept that one. And I know we had conversations about TAD yesterday and me saying that the property, the way that they're appraising property in District 12 may not be the right way. If you look at that corner, and that corner is one of the most, it's a good corner in our district. So how do we, is someone here we can talk to about this?
Would you like to separate them, Mr. Vice Chair?
Yes, I'd like to separate them. So I like to accept 34, but not 33.
Oh, let's do the SEP item number 34. So is there a motion and second to accept item number 34?
I so move to accept item number 34. Second by Councilmember Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This appraisal has been accepted. Is there anyone from the Real Estate Division that can speak to item number 33?
Since no one's here, I'd be willing to hold this paper until the next, or whatever we can do to make sure this does not move forward without having folks look at it. And what I would like to say is that we have another appraiser look at it as well. Oh yeah, we'll vote on one. We can't hold it.
We can make a motion to hold the appraisal.
And I think sometimes when you're dealing with the council members, it might not move as planned because we get to vote for stuff individually. And so this one, if we have the possibility to hold it, I would like to make the motion to hold it. What does our parliamentarian say? So I'll make I motion that we hold this portion. Second by Councilmember Juan. Please open the vote.
One moment.
Some stuff might not go along because we're not getting along.
The vote is open.
I'm just thinking about a half of acre in Atlanta, Georgia for $25,000.
Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. This item is held.
I know we have a walk-in item that we want to bring forth. I want to ask the body if I can accept a walk-in without objection. No objection. Is the paper ready yet?
Mr. Vice Chair, I'm still waiting on the walk-in from the administration. Can someone from the administration come down and bring the walk-in, please?
And we trying our best to hold this meeting, but I want to also say that I feel good about what we've done. I feel like we were open, and for anybody who came in, I feel like if they're ready now, and we waited an hour and 45 minutes into the meeting, so I want to keep keep the business of the city going. So as we continue to keep the business of the city going, and we don't have to rush nothing through either. We got time. So I'll entertain them. Any announcements, general remarks from committee members? Okay, I feel real good about this. This meeting is, let's slow it down. There it goes.
What? Wrong one.
Good.
Council staff is currently bringing copies of the walk-in, Mr. Vice Chair.
I love the walk-up music.
Oh, you got the walk. You have the paper.
I was just going to ask while you're waiting. I hope some of you had the chance to attend Streets Alive.
So first, we're going to announce ourselves. We want to make sure the people know your name because I love following. I love
Marsha,
following you on social media, but everybody might not know you.
Thank you so much, Marsha Anderson Beaumont, Department ATL DOT. So I was not personally involved, so I get the chance to brag on the rest of the DOT staff. But I hope many people had the chance to attend Streets Alive this past weekend. Section of Peachtree Street from Mitchell up to 15th Street was closed to vehicular traffic. A lot of hands working to make that happen, a lot of coordination with MARTA and other folks in the area to make sure that traffic otherwise moved very well around the event. We heard a lot of very positive comments. I hope that some of you experienced it and heard good things. We have 2 more coming up. We have a date in October and a date in November. So for those who did not have the chance to enjoy this one, please, we hope you'll come out for the next 2.
I will say I'm super excited about Streets Alive and to see it come back alive. If you travel and look around the nation and around the world, a lot of cities are already doing this for one day a week. I've had the opportunity to travel with my wife, and on Sundays in Panama City, they close down all the roads around the main areas. So I am excited to see where this goes, and hopefully we can grow from it. As an avid person who doesn't drive his car, even today I drove my instant wheel scooter in.
Nice. Thank you.
And so is the paper here yet? So I move that if I have nothing from the committee, nothing from my colleagues, I move that this meeting is adjourned today. I'll keep. Is there a second? It's been moving properly. Second. All in favor? Please open the vote.
Mr. Vice Chair, there's no motion. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. We don't have it. It's been moved. Can you please open the vote, Mr. Johnson?
There's no vote to adjourn the
good.
meeting.
Wait. We're done.
Could have, but I don't know, man.